Hello, my name is Opal Singleton. I'm the president and CEO of Million Kids. MillionKids.org. Look us up, get to know us. You will find out we can be your very best friend. Our organization is located in Southern California, but we work all across the nation and actually even across the pond sometimes. We have some great friends over there that we have shared information with, and we often work together. So our organization is dedicated to keeping kids safe from predators. Now, this is the second part of a two-part podcast, and it's all about talking with your teenagers about global technology. So you may have already heard part one. If not, I'll just give you a quick update without boring you to death if you've already heard it. But basically, we have a book out that it's an ebook online. I would encourage you to read it. It is called Digital Warfare, Our Kids on the Front Line. Now, it actually hasn't released yet. It's going to release probably towards the end of October as we get the final editing out. It is a very difficult book to release because it's all about the latest technologies. And quite frankly, our heads are spinning. This stuff is releasing faster than anything we have ever seen. And so, but the book is all about how the world of online exploitation has changed and changed dramatically in the last 3 years. And it's very important for parents, for pastors, for teachers, anybody who works with young people, counselors, therapists, to understand the impact of what has happened if you're going to be working with young people, especially in a counseling point of view or an intervention kind of view, or even prevention. So these two podcasts started for me because I got a great letter from a fine man who's obviously a wonderful father. I won't share his name, but I'm very proud of him. And he wrote to me and he said, I have a young lady that is now old enough to go online, and I want to know what I should say to her so that I can keep her safe. Sounds like the young lady has a great head on her shoulders, and so does he. But that doesn't necessarily mean they can't get into trouble. And so my first podcast is all about how the world has changed. If you haven't heard it, you really need to hear it. I'll give you a 5-minute overview. 3 years ago, the entire world connected by internet. At the same time, we had new technology released. Things like cryptocurrency can now be sent all over the world by a teenager. We have, online geolocation software. So if your kid goes on one of those dating sites, they know exactly where they're at. And it's not uncommon for them to say, hey, you don't have to talk to your folks. Just, I'm only 5 miles away. I'll catch up with you and I'll mentor you, kind of thing. So we have a lot of things that are going. One of the biggest ones is that if you've ever Googled yourself, and I highly recommend that you do that. And I highly recommend that you do that for your teenager also, so that you can see what is public knowledge. Because what is happening now is third world countries are taking their cartels, are taking their very poor people, and they're building portfolios of people in foreign countries that have a lot of money. If you live in Nigeria or Cambodia, you're living on $5 a day in many cases, and people over here are literally living on 100,000, 200,000. And so they have learned that the way to get access to a large amount of money is to trick our kids. The problem we have is that nobody's explaining this to our kids. So in the first podcast, I encourage people to go on to YouTube with their teenagers and put in scam farms so that you can see literally tens of thousands of people that have built portfolios on each and every one of us that are trying to scam us. Now, in our case, it might be the Microsoft scam where it comes on and it goes, bzz, 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 you've been hacked, call this number, that kind of thing. And of course, it is not Microsoft that you're receiving in those cases. You're receiving one of those scam farms somewhere. You hear about our senior citizens and middle-aged people that are lonely, and they go on the dating sites and they hook up with someone and they get into a romance scam. It isn't just our kids that are vulnerable at this. Romance scams in the United States alone are $1.05 billion. Now, these are people with good sense, regular folks that make good decisions every day, but they're lonely. And so these scam farms are trained to seek them out and befriend them. They look like some hot young thing, is going to take them on, whether it's a girl or a guy. And they already know so much about you. They make it sound like you have had your dreams come true. And they will fill in all the blanks for you. Oh, you're the first person that understands me. And they move into a serious relationship very, very quickly, but they're always far away and you never get a chance to meet them. It may look like you're about to, but then they cancel. That is a hint that you're in a romance scam somewhere along the line. And the next thing is they're going to be looking for money. Trust me, they will take every dime you have and then some before it's over. So we have to start to teach our senior people and our teenagers and ourselves, by the way, about how to stay safe online and do it in a way that works for everybody. Now, I already know because I've trained gazillion teenagers, whatever that term is. Okay, I've trained a lot. And I already know that they're going to be defensive. So are seniors, by the way. Oh, that ain't going to happen to me. That is the biggest problem you have with online exploitation. Whether it's a parent or a teenager, oh no, that won't happen to me because I'll figure it out. No, they won't. And so the way it works, and I covered this, and I'm going to just briefly remind you, and then we'll move on, that the way it works is they already have a little bit of information about you. And these people are working out of scam farms. They are forced labor. They themselves are trafficked, but they don't have a choice, and they cannot reveal to you that they're being trafficked. Their job is to seduce you in. That is their whole job. Once they have something that they can work with, it goes off to the cartels and they go out to find another person. So what we have to teach our kids is how the world changed. It is no longer just the kid down the street or some pedophile, although they didn't go away. They're still out there also. But what you have is organized criminal groups targeting our kids. Sometimes they use deep fakes. They take a photo that's online. So be careful what you post online. They'll take a photo online and then put a naked body on it and then start to blackmail you. And this poor kid, is running around, and it's usually guys, but it can be girls, but they're running around going, it's not me, Mom, it's not me. Well, we need to back up and understand the world that our kids are now in. And what I'm encouraging you is to take the negativity out of it. I know I'm giving you some very serious information here, but their first response is, oh, you don't have to worry about it, Mom. I'm not going to do it, and blah, 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 blah. And if they do, they're not going to tell you. What you have to do is back up and make it a positive conversation. Things changed in the last 18 months severely, especially with global connection and artificial intelligence and deep fakes and all the information that's out there and money transfer and geolocation software. All those things have happened in the last 18 months. So your kid may have been online a couple of years and you're going, well, it looks like it's going okay. And you haven't had these in-depth dialogues. Because you think, well, that's not going to happen, and I don't want to be a helicopter parent. Well, when it comes to online, what we need is to share the wealth of resources and knowledge. It is important, I believe, because this is the first generation in all of history where the kids can be connected online, connected to billions of people they never met. And so what do we do to bulletproof that kid? If you took them down to a bar, you would say, no, watch out for this thing and watch out for that thing and don't get next to this person and blah, blah, blah. When you go online, you go into the largest bar in the world, okay? The largest chat room in the world where anybody and everybody can reach your child. So what I propose is that you sit down with your child and explain that to them. You can get all of this information from millionkids.org. And when my ebook comes out, you'll have more information than you ever wanted. And you sit down with them and say, I know, I trust you. And you have good judgment. I believe in you. If you know Million Kids at all, that's our motto is I believe those are the 4 most powerful words on earth. I believe in you. I believe you're smart. I believe you would never do anything that would hurt yourself or your younger brothers and sisters or your family's reputation. I believe you would do that you would protect us if you understood what happened. But I also believe that maybe you don't have all the facts about what's going on in the World Wide Web. And I would like to share that with you about what I know, and you can share with me about what you know. You see, this is the most important generation because they're going to be the generation that leads all future generations. But very few people sit down and talk with them about what the World Wide Web looks like, why there's a dark web, and why pedophiles, more than 1 million of them, have come together in dark web sites where they're trying to get your child's nude photo. Your child thinks nothing of sending a nude or an illicit photo. They may not admit to you that they've done it, but I guarantee you they know people who have. But they cannot do that again because the world is changing. You get a photo out there that's even lightly risque, and with deep fakes and artificial intelligence, it can be modified to a point where they will blackmail these kids. I highly recommend that you sit down with your young person, your whole family, if they're old enough, and not Google, but go onto YouTube and put in scam farms. And you will see what is happening in a big way. And that will help your teenager to understand who it is on the other side of that phone. They may look like a hot 14-year-old girl, right as you're a little bit hormonal, okay? And it might be very, very tempting. But once they see the scam farms online, they will be much less likely to accommodate a request. In fact, as I said in the last podcast, the 3 big signs that you are headed for trouble is that you will meet somebody new that you don't know. They will claim to be a friend of a friend. They will then try to interact with you. They may try to move you off that particular app or a dating site so that they have a little bit more control and they're pretty sure you're not a cop. And then they start to seduce you. And so I want our teenagers to begin to say, wait a minute, they look hot, but I don't know who this is. They say they're a friend of a friend. Let me call that friend. I suggest you get a code word between you and a friend. So if somebody tries to do that with you, you can say, hey, what's your code word? Because if you're a friend of my friend knows the code word. But at the very least, lay down the device and get a hold of your friend. And say, I've got this person over here that says they're a friend of a friend. Have you ever heard of them? Second of all, if they're sending you a salacious photo, that ought to be a huge hint. Why would somebody you don't know find you so attractive they just want to push a nude on you? Seriously? That ought to be a huge red flag. Because if they're sending you one, they want one from you. And I need our kids to understand the minute that nude goes out there, your life will change forever. There is absolutely no reason to ever send a nude online anymore because it can be modified. Now with deep fakes, even if it's only mildly salacious, they can get a hold of it and modify this thing so it's absolutely corrupt. We'll use the word corrupt, okay? You get the idea. So we want to talk with them about that. The other thing I think is important in this conversation, again, the conversation should be a positive conversation about, honey, I'm just learning all this stuff. You probably already know it. So you train me and I'll train you, and together maybe we can stay on top of it. But this is what I'm learning. And this is not a wag the finger, thou shalt not moment. This is a moment where we say, this has progressed so fast, it's going to take our whole family to be able to stay ahead of it. I trust you, I believe in you, and I think that you're going to be a star at this. But I also know that we need to have this conversation because I want to make sure you and I are on the same page and we understand what is happening. Along with that conversation, I encourage you to have some conversations about ChatGPT. If your child's using it, probably using it for school. I highly recommend that you have these dialogues about, who is that's giving this information? How effective is it? How do you ever look at what one of these chatbots say and see if it's real? Because one of the things that's happening in ChatGPT or any of the others, there's several, Grok and several of the others out there. I'm not picking on ChatGPT. I've used it myself. They're full of good information as far as that goes, and kids learn to use it to kind of fudge on their homework. But what happens is it's very easy to forget, number one, that's a chatbot, not a real person. And number two is, how do you verify with what they're saying is real? And that's some of the problem with any artificial intelligence. Because think about it, this generation of kids will have access to more information than any generation before them. But they also will be able to be accessed by more predators, pedophiles, gangs, and cartels, and pimps, for what it's worth, than any generation before them. And so one of the things that we really have to teach our children before we put them online is cognitive reasoning. To be able to say, this said that, I don't know that that's true. I mean, there's some things that sound true, and teach you to research and get a different opinion. How often is that right? Is it coming from one political side or the other? Is it verifiable, or is it somebody's opinion that's being put on you? And I think cognitive reasoning is one of the most important assets, if you will, for your teenager to have. Now, if your child isn't old enough for cognitive reasoning, they're going to be in grave danger online. I don't care how good the child is. I get this all the time. Oh, I don't worry about him because he's really a good child, and he's kind of naive and he hardly blah, 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 blah. I go, seriously? You're going to put a child online that doesn't know good cognitive reasoning, that can't tell when they maybe are being set up, when they're being told something that might not be true, and they're going to believe it. And even worse, are they going to fall in love with that chatbot? Now, this is something that is really concerning our whole team. Now, artificial intelligence is the way it is. So we've got to prepare our kids to live in that world. It's not going to go away. But we also need to teach our kids to think about the reality of the world they live in. I've tried out ChatGPT a few times. And I'm very impressed. They're very good at helping me write more effectively. I have a tendency to get a little verbose and wordy on some things. And they're very good at making something concise. However, it's very easy to think that you're talking to a real person. Now, I'm a trained person, okay? I've studied this, but I tried that out one day on Easter Sunday. I was trying to get a concept down. So I was talking to ChatGPT, and then I go, oh my gosh, I'm late for church and it's Easter. I got to go. And this ChatGPT guy says, it's okay, Opal, I'll be here for you when you get back. And I thought, holy cow, I just apologized to a chatbot. Okay. I get it. I go, what are you thinking, you idiot? And yet it is so easy to think of them as being real. I point that out, maybe not so much on ChatGPT as much as when you get into things like Character AI and some of the others. And I have done several podcasts on Character AI, but just in case you haven't seen that part, one of the things that's happening at Character AI scares me a bit, quite frankly. Now, you have to be pretty mature. Right now, there are 3 lawsuits of young teenage boys who have taken their own lives because of the fact they fell in love. And, think about what AI does. You say something and it kind of modifies it, repeats it back to you. That's how AI works. It gathers in mountains of information, and then they use this kind of filtering process to decide what to feed back to you. And in these 3 lawsuits, and they're just tragic lawsuits, tragic cases, the young kids started talking about suicide. And in that case, it was repeated back to them multiple times, like 4 to 1 more than the kid was using it. And it ended absolutely tragically, which is why the lawsuits are out there. But my point is, do we ever put our children in an environment that we haven't discussed with them, and we haven't thought through what are the upsides, what are the downsides, and how is my child going to respond to that? So I do think that we need to be able to have the kind of dialogue with our kid. I think we're way past the, wag the finger kind of thing. I'm not against filters. Yeah, not against that. Not against tracking, not against being involved in your kid's phone, not against checking your phone. But I can tell you this, you will never be able to check your child's phone enough that you will be able to keep them from all of the danger. You might be able to say this or that or the other thing, but you won't be able to keep them from all danger. And that is because all of this technology is changing at the speed of light. And very few of us can keep up on it. Now, there's 8 of us at Million Kids, and we talk about this every day. We'll get an article, we shoot it out to the 8 of us. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Are the kids addicted to the phone? Do the kids understand that they're talking to somebody in Nigeria or Pakistan? No, they do not. Either does grandpa or grandma when they're on a romance scam. And that is up to us, all of us, to learn it and share it. But the purpose of this podcast is never again should another child's life be changed or a family's life changed because they didn't have this dialogue. I honestly believe that we need to change the playing field in the discussions with kids. I'm not against checking phones. I'm not against setting rules. I'm not against filters. Anything you can do to help your child be safe out there, because there's only a couple of you and there are millions of them when they go online. And so how do you teach that child to traverse that world safely, if there is such a thing? I mean, there isn't such a thing as safely online anywhere, because even myself this last week got the Microsoft scam, where all of a sudden you've been hacked, and I was fortunate enough to have been there before, so I could quickly shut it down, turn it all off, and make sure that I am protected. And that's part of being online. But it's a different world now. We no longer, my last book was A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. It is the minute a young person goes online, they have entered a home without walls and a world without borders. Now, if you're thinking your child might be in trouble, I'm going to just share with you a couple of indicators on that. One of the first indicators is when you walk down the hall, they shut the door. They get real private real quick. I get it. We all like our privacy. But, if they're hiding all of that from you, that's an indicator that you need to get involved in their life and understand what is happening. Maybe they put what is called a vault app on their phone, like a calculator, and so that they can hide the other apps. Or maybe they get real secretive where they're borrowing somebody else's phone. All of those are indicators that maybe you need to stop in your tracks and get closer to your child. It's really, really important that you have open dialogue with your child. Now, am I against punishment? No. I mean, if your child has put a nude online, that's a very serious situation. If your child has put a nude online, I highly recommend, first of all, that you don't blow up, that you don't scream and yell, you don't put them down, you don't degrade them, because you don't know about what somebody might be blackmailing them. So if that's out there, then sit down with them and go, I see this and I know how dangerous it is. But I also think you must be very scared now that you've been seduced into sending it. Now, we all hope that after this talk They will never, ever once consider sending a nude online. A nude online is a ticking time bomb, a timing tick bomb. How do you like that one? Anyway, it's a ticking time bomb, because now not only can other people blackmail you with it, but it can be altered by a deep fake. So if you see that, I think the most important thing that you do is sit down with your child and say, I see this. I'm scared to death for us all, honey. I can understand how you got seduced into doing that, but we need to take proactive action. Do not delete that, even if your child sent it, even if it's humiliating, even if they're begging you to delete it. Do not delete it, but don't show it to other people. I explained to you, young person, this is the very quickest way to be blackmailed. And I really think we need to reiterate that talk with a kid, that if anybody's trying to get your nude or partial nude or anything that might compromise you or your family, you have to know they're not your friend, okay? And if they say they're a friend of a friend, hang up and go call the friend, or get off the thing and go call the friend. And never, ever, ever send a nude online from here on out. It is just too dangerous. Okay, people got away with it before the world was connected by internet. But now it's very possible that photo has gone out to more than 1 million people. And some of them are in Nigeria and they will want money. Have that conversation with your child. If they get in that situation, I hope you'll trust me enough to come to me and let me help you with it. Never pay the money. You'll be tempted to pay the money. Do not, and by the way, that's true of romance scams too. Do not ever pay money online to somebody you met, okay? Online. Never do that. Absolutely not. It is a no-win situation. I saw one kid who sent over $8,000 to him and they still won't quit. And the truth of the matter is, once they have that photo, they're in charge because they can decide where it's going to go. But giving them money is not going to stop it. Okay, I don't care how old you are or how young you are, giving someone money online like that is not going to work out for you. So it's important to have these conversations and talk about it in a positive mode also, to say, you know what? You're the first generation in all of history that's connected to the World Wide Web. You have more opportunity than any kid on the face of the earth to be blackmailed, to be set up, and like that. Don't take any chances. Anybody who's trying to compromise you in any way, they will send you a video or a photo and they go, it's your turn, want one back. Wrong. Shut that thing off and run. Get the hell out of there, okay? Because that is a huge red flag. You don't know this person and you don't know if they're a friend of a friend, but if they are a friend, they would never ask you to put something online that would compromise you or your family and your whole future. And that is really what this is all about. Well, folks, my name is Hopeful Singular. Our organization is called Million Kids, MILLION, millionkids.org. We're out of Riverside, California, but we operate all across the nation. And our goal is to keep kids safe from predators. If you go to millionkids.org, sign up for our newsletter, you will get more resources than you can ever imagine. Go to our website. Oh my gosh, we have resource after resource. We post other organizations' resources. It isn't about building our organization. It is about keeping our kids safe online and doing it in a way that will build your relationship. And it's just so important. If we have decided to put our child online, then we understand the risks before we do it. And so we as adults need to step back and provide our kids a path to success. Not every kid who goes online is going to be violated, but I'm going to tell you the ones that have been, the stories are so tragic, it just breaks your heart. And that's why we exist. That's why we do prevention and intervention. And if you would like to support our work, I will tell you we're a small organization, but we're stealth. We make our money go a long, long way. And we are all about keeping our kids safe, whether it's online or out of trafficking, keeping them out of trafficking, keep them out of sextortion or blackmail, online exploitation, whatever it is. We comb the world every day for the latest technology that we can share with you so that you can have these informed conversations with your child. I hope it's been helpful. You are always welcome to write to me at opal, OPAL, at meandkids.org. OPAL at meandkids.org. If you want to support us financially or in your prayers, believe me, we need it in your prayers. This is literally the Lord's work, what we're doing out there, and we get plenty of pushback from the other side. And we need all the prayers we can get, and we truly, truly, truly appreciate your financial support. So thank you for listening. I hope you'll share this with other people, and I hope I'll see you again on the next podcast. Put your arms around your family. Let them know how much you love them, how proud you are, how much you believe in them. I'll see you on the next podcast. Take care. Put your arms around your family. Let them know how much you love them, how proud you are, how much you believe in them. I'll see you on the next podcast. Take care.